Hello, this is some old guy in Hawaii, and today we're looking at the Lightshow, a legendary Vladov pistol available only in the Bounty of Blood DLC. It can be acquired as a world drop in the DLC, but has an increased chance to drop from Lazodactyl on the Obsidian Forest map. Comes in all elements as well as non-elemental, which will become important shortly. Now, lots of other content providers have already covered this weapon, so the fact that it's one of the best, if not the best pistol in the game at the time of this post should not come as a surprise. Partly because of this video is organized differently from previous weapon profiles. I'm going to give you the performance range and what to look for up front, and go into less detail than normal later on. So these two tables list the raw base damage range and DPS range of level 60 Mayhem 10 Lightshow variants. What's DPS for those who don't know? Damage per second. Damage per second factors in raw damage, rate of fire, magazine size, and reload speed to gauge how much damage we do per second with continuous fire. This is the best way to compare light shows. The top numbers are the highest approximate base damage or DPS figures. The bottom numbers are the lowest. All variants at level 60 M10 will fall between these ranges. They're approximate because, as I've said on previous weapon videos, I have to work backwards using listed numbers and part mods to determine base values, and then do the math to generate numbers for all variants. Listed stats, however, often do not reflect the actual underlying numbers in the game programming. They're rounded off. This is why my numbers may differ slightly from the stat card. However, that difference between what's listed here and what's on the card should never be more than about 0.01%, 1/100th of 1%. Why are there 4 columns with different labels and colors? Well, due to elemental weapon damage scaling, the listed base damage will vary depending upon the element. There's a link below to a video explaining elemental weapon damage scaling. In essence, though, non-elemental variants will have the highest damage values. Cryo variants with the exact same parts will have listed damage 15% less than the non-elemental ones. Fire, corrosion, and shock will be 20% less than non-elemental, and radiation will be 25% less. There are exceptions to this rule: dual element Molly 1 weapons and a few other uniques like the King's and Queen's Call. The Lightshow, however, is not an exception. Its damage scales this way. Now, this limits the upper and lower ends of listed damage based on element or lack thereof. So if you're looking for a radiation Lightshow with listed damage of 11k or higher, stop doing that. You're not going to find one unless it's modded or until they raise the level cap. So looking at the tables, the highest listed damage is 67% higher than the lowest, which is a lot. Not as much as the bonus applied by some anointments, but if we're min-maxing, that's equivalent to 6 levels or 6 mayhem levels. Okay, DPS-wise, the difference is about 50% of 5 levels, but still potentially a lot. This also does not take into consideration the effects of each element, damage over time, and other status effects. I'm not going to go into that here. I'm going to leave that to you and your weapon selection whenever, how you do things tactically. So, given these ranges, what are the best performing light shows? The ones with the highest DPS. Do parts make a difference? Okay. Looking just at variable parts, there are 432 different light show variants, 432 possible part combinations. This does not include sights, which don't affect DPS or the elements. Okay, from a DPS standpoint, this is what we want though. 1, we want a listed magazine size of 34 or less. The larger, the better. Okay, light shows only come with 2 base mag sizes, 28 and 35. There are a few parts, however, that increase mag size by a small percentage, so we see more than just 28 and 35 on the listed magazine. Bigger is better as it increases time between reloading. But the key here is that the 28 round base mag decreases damage by 10%, while the 35% decreases it by 20%. So mag size of 20 to 34, the bigger the better. If you need a visual clue, look for the absence of this window showing individual rounds in the magazine. Okay. 2, look for these 2 out of the 3 possible barrel accessories. The first is a suppressor, which is very easy to spot. It sticks out from the 2 double barrels. Okay, this one has a suppressor, this one does not. Okay, easy. Second is this barrel cover, which is actually easy to spot when it's not there. Okay, see all this space between the upper and lower barrel? We don't want that. We want a nice solid appearance. Each of these barrel accessories increases base damage by 10%. Now, light shows with these parts account for the top 64 variants and are scattered throughout the top 176. That means out of 432 variants, the top 64 spots, about 50%, are occupied by variants with these parts. And the lowest DPS performer with these parts ranks 176, about 40% down, meaning it still performs better than 60% of all variants. They also make about 61% of those 176. Number 3, as long as we have those 3 parts, we in general want to look for the highest listed base damage. How high a base? What damage numbers are we looking for at level 60 Mayhem 10? Well, non-elementals around 11k or higher, cryo 9.8k, fire, shock, and corrosion around 9.2, 9.3k and higher, and radiation around 8.7 thousand and up. Now again, these parts and damage figures represent the highest performing light shows in general. There are part combinations without all these parts mixed in, with the ones that have all of them. Okay, good parts can compensate for lesser ones. Patterns are not always consistent, but the ones I have pointed out represent the vast majority of the top performers and are easy to spot. Now, if you want to know where your light show ranks, even without those specific parts, do the math, do the DPS calculation. Okay, if you're mathematically challenged, grab your calculator and do the top part. Don't forget the times 4. Write it down. Then do the bottom division and add 3.1 to it. Then divide the top by the bottom and see how close it is to the top or the bottom of the DPS range table. So that's our top performers in general and the light show performance range. I'm going to finish up with a quick look at what informs that wide range and also how the light show does what it does. All light shows have the same barrel, magazine receiver, and second or double barrel. All other parts are variable to include 3 slides, 3 barrel accessories. Each light show has at least 2 magazines, 3 grips, an optional stock, 3 rails, and 4 possible sights or scopes. The previously stated 432 possible part combos did not include the sights. If we include the sights, which don't change the performance numbers but may matter to some people, that makes 1,728 variants. Okay, if we include elements, the light show comes in all 5 and non-elemental. That jumps to 10,368, not including anointments. Okay, a lot of possible variations here. On the bright side, those original 432 part combos only produced 88 different DPS figures for a given element. Okay, almost all DPS figures have either 4 or 8 different part combos. What I mean by that is this top figure of 241292 results from 4 different part combos. If you go a little bit further down, 229, 328 down here results from 8 different part combos, etc. Okay. So how does the light show work? How does the light show churn out such high DPS? Well, in a nutshell, just raw damage. Okay, for the price of 1 ammo, the gun fires 4 projectiles in a square or box pattern that rotates clockwise as the 2 barrels rotate. The projectiles occupy the corners of the square, but as the box rotates over time, the projectiles fan out in a circular pattern, and that pattern expands with increasing range. The end result is a gun that works best at very short ranges, at short to medium ranges. Unless shooting at a very large target, most people on average only hit with 2 or 3 of those 4 projectiles. The gun is so powerful, however, that those 2 or 3 are often sufficient to make short work of mobs and deal meaningful damage to bosses. Okay, the firing pattern and fixed reload speed of 3.1 seconds, which, while not terrible, is not great, actually limits the gun's potential. If those projectiles fired at a small fixed pattern that didn't expand with range, this gun would be even more ridiculous. Okay, so there's no hidden ability. The expanding rotating box pattern is obvious. It all boils down to high damage, decent rate of fire, and a large magazine for a pistol. It's just a very simple, effective gun. Okay. Real quick note on prefixes. Non-elemental light shows have 1 prefix. Elementals have 2. The first indicating the element. Prefixes that don't designate an element that I know of are Crovy, Loyal, Ruthless, Resolute, Vicious, Swift, etc. There might be more. But aside from negating being a cryo one and I forget what the other ones are. But for the various elements, okay, I don't know what the distinction is, if there is any. Okay. Anyhow, that's all I really have to say about the light show. Okay, it's a good weapon, obviously. Check it out. If you got any questions or comments, drop me a note below, or check me out on twitch.tv/SamoGuy in Hawaii. And as always, thanks for watching.